Have you ever wondered how the vast expanse of the ocean, brimming with maritime activities, is regulated by law in India? Imagine, if you will, the bustling ports, the ceaseless ebb and flow of ships, the relentless human effort that goes into maintaining this intricate system. Now consider the legal framework that underpins it all. Welcome to the world of maritime law. Maritime law, or admiralty law as it is often called, is an intriguing blend of domestic and international regulations. It is a specialized field of law that governs maritime issues and disputes. In India, this body of law presides over a vast range of matters, from the movement of ships in Indian waters to the trade that happens on these seas. Trade, as we know, is the lifeblood of any economy, and maritime trade is no exception. It is a powerhouse that fuels the Indian economy. Here, maritime law plays a critical role in ensuring smooth sailing. It provides the rules of the road, so to speak, establishing clear guidelines for how business is conducted on the high seas. But it's not just about commerce. Maritime law also extends its protective umbrella to the environment. It sets the parameters for environmental compliance, guiding ships on how to navigate the delicate balance between human activity and environmental preservation. Then we have the labor laws. The people who work tirelessly on these ships, often in challenging conditions, need protection too. Maritime labor laws ensure fair treatment, proper compensation, and decent working conditions for seafarers, safeguarding their rights and welfare. Speaking of compensation, maritime law also provides a legal framework for claims and disputes. Whether it's a case of damaged cargo or a ship collision, the law steps in to determine liability and adjudicate compensation. So, as you can see, maritime law in India is a vast, complex, and fascinating field. It's like a lighthouse guiding ships through a sea of potential issues and disputes, ensuring that maritime activities are conducted smoothly and responsibly. Now let's dive into the deep waters of the evolution of maritime laws in India. India's maritime law didn't appear overnight. It has a rich history that dates back to ancient times. Let's set sail on this journey of discovery, starting with ancient India. Back then, maritime trade was a thriving industry. The ancient seafarers of India had a set of guidelines that governed their sea voyages. These rules were primarily based on customary practices, and though they were not codified as laws, they were respected and followed. This was the era when the foundations of maritime law were laid. Then came the British era, which brought about a sea change in the legal landscape. British rule introduced formal maritime laws based on their own legal principles. The colonial rulers established the admiralty courts in the three presidency towns of Calcutta, Bombay, and Madras. These courts were responsible for handling all maritime disputes, including ship collisions, salvage claims, and disputes over freight and passage. After independence, India inherited these British laws. However, the newly independent nation recognized the need to adapt these laws to suit its own unique circumstances. The Indian government made several changes to the maritime laws, while also retaining some British laws that were still relevant. This resulted in a hybrid system of maritime law that is uniquely Indian. In the recent years, there have been several amendments to these laws. The government has been proactive in updating maritime laws to keep pace with the changes in international maritime trade. These amendments have been aimed at safeguarding the interests of seafarers, protecting the marine environment, and facilitating maritime trade. For example, the Maritime Labour Convention of 2006 was incorporated into Indian law to protect the rights of seafarers. Similarly, the government has taken steps to implement the International Convention for the Prevention of Pollution from Ships to protect the marine environment. As you can see, India's maritime laws have been shaped by centuries of trade, colonization, and independent governance. In recent years, the waves of change have swept across India's maritime laws. The ripple effect of these changes has been felt across the board, from labor laws to environmental regulations and compensation laws. Let's take a closer look at these currents of change. The Merchant Shipping Act, which had been the cornerstone of India's maritime law for over 6 decades, underwent significant amendments. These changes were introduced to make the law more contemporary, inclusive, and in line with the international maritime law standards. The amendments have been instrumental in reshaping labor laws within the maritime sector. For instance, seafarers now have increased rights and protections, including better living conditions on board, regulated working hours, and grievance redressal mechanisms. This not only enhances the seafarers' quality of life, but also boosts their morale and productivity. Environmental regulations, too, have been overhauled. The updated maritime laws now include stricter penalties for oil spills and dumping of waste, reflecting India's commitment to safeguarding its marine environment. This is a significant stride towards ensuring a sustainable and eco-friendly maritime industry. The changes in compensation laws are equally noteworthy. The amendments have made shipowners more accountable, ensuring fair and prompt compensation to victims in the event of maritime accidents. This serves as a deterrent against negligence and encourages safer maritime operations. The Maritime Labour Convention, 2006, also known as the Seafarers' Bill of Rights, has been ratified by India. This international agreement sets minimum working and living standards for all seafarers working on ships. By adopting this convention, India has demonstrated its commitment to safeguarding the rights of its seafarers and enhancing their working conditions. Moreover, India has also acceded to the Nairobi International Convention on the Removal of Wrecks, 2007. This convention lays down the legal framework for the prompt and effective removal of shipwrecks that may pose a threat to the marine environment. These recent changes reflect India's commitment to align its maritime laws with international standards and practices. Navigating the legal waters of maritime law in India can be a daunting task. Indeed, it's much like steering a ship through a storm, where each wave represents a different facet of the law, each more complex than the last. The maritime laws of India are multifaceted, encompassing a broad spectrum of issues. These range from labor laws protecting the rights of seafarers, to environmental laws safeguarding the fragile marine ecosystem, to compensation laws ensuring just recompense for damages. Each of these areas comes with its own complexities and nuances, making the legal waters difficult to traverse. The role of the courts in interpreting and enforcing these laws cannot be overstated. Courts are the compass that guides us through these turbulent waters, their judgments providing direction and clarity. However, it's important to note that the courts do not operate in a vacuum. Their decisions are often influenced by international conventions and agreements, as well as the evolving socio-economic landscape. That being said, enforcement of maritime laws presents its own set of challenges. These laws are not just applicable to Indian ships and seafarers, but also to foreign vessels operating in Indian waters. This means that the implementation of these laws often involves navigating through diplomatic hurdles and international legal complexities. Moreover, maritime law is a dynamic field, constantly evolving to keep pace with technological advancements and changing global norms. This makes it both exciting and challenging, as legal practitioners must continually update their knowledge and adapt to new developments. Despite these challenges, maritime law continues to play a crucial role in ensuring the smooth sailing of maritime activities in India. It serves as the rudder that steers the ship of maritime trade, ensuring that it stays on course, respects the rights of all involved, and protects the marine environment. So while navigating these legal waters may be a daunting task, it's a journey that is essential for the progress and prosperity of India's maritime sector. As we anchor our discussion, let's summarize the main points we've covered. We've journeyed through the evolution of maritime laws in India, charting a course from historical beginnings to the present day. We've seen the initial laws established during the colonial era that were primarily designed to protect British interests. These laws were later adapted to suit the needs of an independent India, with a focus on promoting a robust and sustainable maritime industry. In the wake of significant global changes, India has been proactive in amending its maritime laws to stay in line with international norms. These amendments have had a profound impact on various aspects of maritime operations, including labor laws, environmental regulations, and compensation laws. One key amendment that stands out is the change in labor laws, offering better protection for seafarers. This amendment ensures fair wages, decent working conditions, and safeguards against exploitation, contributing to a healthier and more productive maritime workforce. Environmental regulations have also seen significant reform. With the growing global concern for the environment, India has taken steps to ensure maritime operations align with sustainable practices. These reforms aim to minimize the environmental impact of maritime activities, striking a balance between economic growth and environmental preservation. Compensation laws have been revised to provide better support for victims of maritime accidents. These amendments offer more comprehensive coverage, ensuring that those affected receive fair compensation in a timely manner. However, enforcing these laws presents a set of challenges. The vastness of the sea, the complexity of international maritime operations, and the intricacies of jurisdiction all contribute to the difficulties in law enforcement. Despite these challenges, India continues to strive for effective implementation of maritime laws in its pursuit of a safe, sustainable, and prosperous maritime industry. As the seas of maritime law continue to change, it's essential to stay informed and adapt to the currents of change. The journey through the waters of maritime law is complex and ever-evolving, but as we anchor this discussion, remember, knowledge is the compass that guides us through these legal seas.